Hi friends, it is Mrs. Mount here, and we are here in my kitchen for this evening's math class. And yes, for the math lesson we are in the kitchen. That's just the oven preheating, and I already have it preheating. I have already gotten all of the ingredients ready, all of the tools ready, gotten the recipe ready, but now I need your help because we are going to double the recipe because I love banana bread. And I want to see the difference between making it with vanilla versus making it with chocolate chips. Because some people can have chocolate chips, some people can't have chocolate chips. Sometimes you don't have chocolate chips in your house, but most times we have vanilla. So let's get to it. We're gonna have to do some math first, though. That's the kind of the key to today, and then we'll get to the yummy stuff. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's go over our recipe. So for one batch, we need half a cup of butter, softened. We need 1 cup of sugar. We need 2 beaten eggs. We need 3 bananas. Half a cup of flour. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Half a teaspoon of salt. And either half a teaspoon of vanilla or not really sure how much chocolate chips, but let's say half a cup of chocolate chips. So this is all fine and dandy, except we are doubling it. This is if we are doing 1 batch, but we are going to do 2. So in order to get these numbers to be the ones that we need for today, we are going to have to do what? How do you get what numbers we are going to need? We are going to double it. Do you add it? Do you subtract it? Do you multiply? Or do you divide? What are you going to do to these numbers to get them to be the equivalent for if you are doubling the recipe? I may have just given you a hint. So, what you're actually going to do is, there's 2 different ways. If you said multiply or add, you're right. Good job. So, what we are doing, basically, when you're doubling the recipe, is you're taking all of this here, and you're going to add twice the amount. So you're taking all of this and you're going to add it once, and then you're going to add the exact same amount twice. So all you need to do is look at these numbers and either times them by 2 or add that number to itself. And there's even fractions in here. Math is loaded when it comes to cooking and baking, but that's part of the fun of it too. So you get to learn and you get to taste some deliciousness. Okay, so we know that we can add to get our number, or we can multiply. So first, let's do adding. So if we know that we need half a cup of butter, but we're going to double it, so we know we need to add it twice. So once and twice. So that would equal, your denominator stays the same, And 1 plus 1 equals 2. Which creates the whole fraction, because it's 2 over 2, it is actually the equivalent to 1. So instead of it being half a cup, when we're doubling it, we're actually going to do a full cup. So we know we are going to need 1 cup of butter to double this. Now, if we were going to do this with multiplication, so then you would be looking at half times 2. So if you think of kind of like a half of a pizza, you're going to times that half of a pizza by 2, which is going to make it a whole pizza. Now, another way of looking at half is also 0.5, or half of 1. So we can change out those decimals and those fractions to make them a little bit easier to look at. So this here, 0.5 times 2, would be equal to 1, which is the same as up here. So half a cup plus half a cup is equal to a full cup, or half a cup times 2 or multiplied by 2 equals 1 cup. So yeah, that's how we do it for the butter. So now, and I am actually going to grab a new hack that I found out about today that I totally forgot about, that I need to try. And if it works, then you guys need to try it too. Apparently, these yellow scrubbies work great as whiteboard erasers. And look at that. That took like nothing. That's amazing. Okay, now I know what I'm going to use. Alright, so we know that we have our butter doubled, because we're going to be doing it twice. So for the sugar, we know that we need 1 cup of sugar. So if we are going to do addition, it would be 1 cup plus 1 cup. So 1 plus 1 equals 2 cups. Now if we were going to multiply this, you would do 1 cup multiplied by 2. So 1 cup times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Anything times 1 is itself, and anything times 2 is double itself. Alright, so we have our sugar done. So we know that we need 2 cups of sugar. Okay, on to the eggs. Oh, I totally forgot about my sponge. Awesome. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is the eggs. We need 2 eggs. So 2 eggs plus 2 eggs equals, if you said 4, you'd be right. You could also draw it. 2 eggs plus 2 eggs, if you count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4. The other way that you could look at it, if you wanted to do a picture of it, would be you know that you need 2 eggs for one batch. So 2 eggs for one batch. But we're doing 2 batches. So how many eggs do you need in each batch? 2. So we'll draw our 2 eggs in there. So if we're gonna double our batch, those are our 2 batches. How many eggs do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and for the multiplication of this one, 2 times 2 equals 4. And that's what this is showing. So 2 groups of 2. So there's 2 in each group, and there's 2 groups. So 2 times 2 equals 4. 2 groups of 2 equals 4. Awesome. So we need 4 eggs. On to the next one, which is the bananas. The base of the wonderfulness. So for the bananas, we know that we need 3 bananas. So 3 bananas plus 3 bananas equals, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3 plus 1, 2, 3 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we know that we need 6 eggs. Now the other way of looking at this would be 3 times 2 equals 6. So 2 groups of 3. So this is one group here, and this is the other group here. So we've got 2 groups of 3. Awesome. So 6 bananas. Next, we are on to flour. Now there are more advanced ways and math techniques that you could use to calculate the numbers for these, but these are the most simple and easiest, most effective and most used ways that I found, and easiest ways too. So I figured I would teach you those ways rather than teach you the super complicated ways with all of these theories, and just teach you this way. So let's continue. So we know we need half a cup of flour. So half, actually I'm just going to rewrite this so it's a little bit nicer to read. So half plus half. Well, we know that we carry the bottom one, or maybe you don't know, but when you're doing fractions, when you're adding, the bottom denominator stays the same, and you just add the top ones as if you were adding normally. So 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now if you have 2 over 2 of something, it is actually equal to having a full one. If you have half of an orange and you add another half of an orange, you got a full orange. Now, just like when we were doing the butter, we can change this one to a number. So half is the equivalent to 0.5, and if we multiply that by 2, then we get 1. So that's that half orange plus another half orange equals a full orange. Okay, so we know that we need 1 cup of flour. Awesome. I know this is a lot of math, but I promise the fun's gonna come after this. We're almost there. Okay, so we are on to the baking soda. So it says we need 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So if we're gonna add it, 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 1 equals 1, 2. Now if we are going to times this, 1 times 2 equals, if you said 2, you're right. Because anything times 1 is itself, and anything times 2 is double itself, which is 2. Okay, so 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Second last one. Great job, friends. You are like rocking this math. Fun math. Okay, so the next one is half a teaspoon of salt. Now we've done the half one a whole bunch of times, so I am going to challenge you to pause this video now and see if you can figure out what we need, what the total amount of salt that we need for our recipe is going to be if we're going to double it. So that's half a teaspoon. So what do we need to do to have when we are going to find the number through adding, or when we are going to find the number through multiplication? So pause this video now and figure it out, and then unpause it when you think you figured it out and you are ready to continue. Okay, friends, well, I'm sure that you all did a great job, so let's continue with this. So, half, if we're gonna add another half, is equal to, well, the bottom number stays the same, and 1 plus 1 equals 2. But when we have a whole number over a whole number that's the same, so 2 over 2 actually equals 1. Okay, so that means of the total parts that there are, so there's a total of 2 parts, we have 2 of the 2 parts, which means we have all of it, or 1. Now this one, we're going to switch out that 0.5, or sorry, switch out that half to a 0.5. And we are going to times it by 2, which is going to give us 1. Okay. So that means that we are going to need 1 teaspoon of salt. And it just so happens for our last ones, they are exactly the same. So half a teaspoon of vanilla or half a cup of chocolate chips. So we're going to use the exact same formula. So half, if we're going to double it, half plus half equals 2 parts of the total, which can be 2 parts, which equals 1. Or 0.5 or half times 2 equals 1. So if you have 2 of these, it would equal this one. Because this is the half cup and this is the full cup. So if I was to empty 2 of these full ones, it would equal this one here. Alright. Awesome. So now that we know what our numbers that we need to multiply, or sorry, what the total number is that we need for our ingredients, then let's get to the cooking. I am just going to move the whiteboard off to the side, but I will keep verbalizing the amounts that we'll be adding into the mixtures, and then I'll also add them into the video as captions so you can follow along. Alright, let's get to baking. Okay, so very first thing we need to do is we need to soften the butter. So I knew that we were going to be baking this afternoon, evening. So I already took out my butter and it is soft and you can see it, it's squishy. So we need to empty this out. Now, when we looked at the recipe, it originally said we needed half a cup of butter, but we know that we actually need a full cup of butter because we are doubling the recipe. I'm pretty sure, even though I am kind of combining 2 sticks of butter together, I'm pretty sure I will be okay. Just gonna push this down just to make sure. Alright, well, that looks pretty good. Might be a little bit less, but there will be butter added later on in the oiling of the pan process, so that'll add some more oil too. Alright, so we'll get that out of there. I am a huge cooking and baking with my hands person. Of course, my hands are clean. Always, always, always wash your hands. Always have your hair up. These are a few of the rules of food safety. Always squish your butter because it feels cool. Okay, so now we are going to add 1 cup of sugar. But we know that it's not actually 1 cup. It is, because we need to double it. If you said 2 cups, you're right. So this is our sugar. And we are going to add 2 cups. Now, some people are super particular when they're baking. I'm not. However, that is quite a bit more. So I don't go with a knife or anything, but as long as it's relatively leveled off, sort of around the full mark, it's good to me. Now, we needed 2. Okay. Now, let's see here. We are going to cream this together. And what creaming is basically taking a fork and you hold it in your hands like this. And I find that it's easier if I put my thumb on here and you're pushing the butter down into the sugar so that it blends together. Now, the other way that I like to do this, which I prefer to do, is with my hands. Now, I didn't say this before, but we are doubling the recipe all together to begin with, and then at the very end, at the last step before we need to add the vanilla or the chocolate chips, that's when we're going to split up the mixtures. It just makes it a lot more efficient because this whole process is still the same to make it this way. Otherwise, I gotta make the whole process one time and then make the whole process over again. So what I'm doing is mixing. Kind of feels like you're playing in Play-Doh, like sandy Play-Doh or salty Play-Doh, right? All right. So this is also a really, really fun tactile experience too. And what that means is that it's a fun experience to have, just feeling it go through your fingers. Okay, so we know that this is all mixed through and it's all got that cream color. So the butter and the sugar have mixed completely. Okay, next we are going to move on to the eggs. First, we are going to put them into our dish. Then we are going to take our eggs. And we are going to crack them into the dish first. And then we are going to beat them with our fork. I'm very sad that we can't be doing this experiment at school because I think it would have been so much fun. But that's okay because that just means that you get to try it in your own home and then your family gets to try it all too. And our last egg. Okay, so what beating an egg means is you're going to be taking the fork and you're going to be running it along the bowl just like that. And you're breaking it up. I'm just going to put it down because it's easier. And you'll see it's kind of like getting goopy, but it's combining together, and that's what you want. You want it to be one consistent temperature. Or sorry, consistent consistency. Alright, I am making a big mess. Go. Next time, I will remember to use a bigger bowl so that we don't have spillover. I feel like that's a lot of the part of the fun of cooking and baking though, is like make a mess but make tasty food, and it's just awesome. Okay, so we are going to first look at our bananas. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to put that up there. Okay, our bananas look a little different because we're going to do a little experiment with these ones too. So the ones that are on the left, these ones right here, they are ones that have just been sitting on my banana rack and just went mushy and just sat there, and I realized, looked at them this morning and was like, okay, they are great banana bread bananas. And then these ones in here, they look a little bit lighter. They might have a little bit of frost on them because these are actually bananas that were in the freezer. So whenever we find any bananas that are maybe on the discount rack or any that we let get a little bit overripe here at the house, which I'm sure happens to everybody, we immediately throw them into the freezer. That way we can save them instead of them being wasted, and then we can make them into wonderful, delicious things later, like this banana bread. So for one of the batches, the one that we are going to do with the chocolate chips, we are going to do with the frozen bananas. And the one we're going to do with the vanilla is with the fresh bananas, just to see what it tastes like. So we need to mush these babies up. Now, I should have taken these bananas out a little bit earlier than I did. You can kind of see there's frost on it. And it's kind of harder to get it squishy. When they are, oh, here we go. See, when they are totally defrosted, they basically fall apart like that droopiness. But because it's still a little too chilly, it's still got its structure. It actually looks like a not so bad banana. Okay, so we'll do the same. Now we'll be putting all of these banana peels into the compost. It's just on the other side of the peninsula, and I didn't grab it. So I will grab it after. Okay, so those are our 3 frozen ones. And you know what? I think I'm actually going to mix the frozen ones with the fresh ones because I feel like that would make a better flavor. And we will leave the experimenting to the chocolate chips versus not chocolate, or chocolate chips versus vanilla. Alright, so see, these ones are like super, super, super mushy. You like just... yeah. I find when the banana skins get slimy, they get hard to hold on to. And hard to peel. But whichever way you find to peel it, as long as you get it out, that's all that matters. Okay, last one. Squish! That's the other thing you can do with bananas is just squish, like hold the top and then just squish it all down. You get that extra banana-ness. Alright, we'll put this aside for now. And we will, with a new fork, alright, so that same creaming that we did earlier with the, I'm going to take that dark spot, that we saw earlier with the sugar and the butter, you can do the same with the banana. You can do it with your hands too. That one, it gets a little bit messy for me, but I also love to do it, so I will also be doing it, but I will show you how to cream, or how to mix up the banana. Now the nice thing about having the fresh bananas is that they are mushy. They're a little bit more, I don't know, soft. Whereas the other ones are tending to stick together more. But I have also cooked with frozen bananas before, and if you let them sit out for longer than, like these ones only sat out for about an hour. If you let them sit out for probably in the morning if you're going to cook in the evening, or the night before if you want to cook in the morning, just to give them a little bit of more, a little more time to soften up, because it makes it a little bit easier. Now I am going to get in there with my hands because I want to make sure that it's really, really, really well mixed. If you have anyone that you know that loves sensory integration experiences, or if you have someone who has an exceptionality at home who's maybe looking for something to do, this is an absolutely great activity for them to do. It gets their hands in things, feeling the different temperatures, feeling the different consistencies, really, really getting into it. And really, really having fun with it too. I'm just making sure there's no big frozen parts, because I know that those ones were a little hard. Alright, looking beautiful. So, next, we are going to add all of this together. I'm just going to wash my hands first. Rinse them off at least. Okay, so we are going to go back to that first mixture that we made, that cream and, the butter and sugar. We are going to add the eggs, and then we are going to add the banana. So we'll add the egg first, and then we'll add the banana. So there's the egg, and you'll notice the consistency, it's like droopy and yucky. But imagine feeling that. It'd be pretty cool. Alright. So put this down. And we will pour this into our mixture. There. Alright. And then we will take those bananas, so that's the mixture of the frozen bananas and the fresh banana. Well, fresh old bananas. And we're going to add that together as well. Now this is definitely going to be a hand part. A lot of my baking involves using your hands and not using a whole bunch of fancy technology. I do have a pair of beaters, but I find that you can get into it and the mixture just becomes more evenly mixed. And then no spots can hide. I'm just going to see here if I can show you. There we go. So it's kind of like goopy. But it feels perfect for banana bread. It feels like goop with a banana. Okay. So now that we have the banana and all the wet ingredients mixed together, which is what usually you do first, we're going to set this aside and we are going to move on to our dry mixture. Now, we need to get the sifter, which is the one thing I forgot. Rinse that off. Okay, so the sifter is right here. And I believe we can just use the same bowl that we used earlier. We can use this one. Even though it does have some of the banana bits in it, it's okay because that'll just be mixed up with the powders and then it'll be mixed in. So it will be fine. Those of you who are hardcore bakers who might be watching this, I'm probably doing it wrong and maybe you're not supposed to do that. But I am all about conserving on dishes. So here we go. So we need, let's see. We need to combine our flour baking soda and salt. Then we're gonna cream that together. And then mix it all together, and then we're gonna split them off into two, into the ones that will be getting the vanilla extract and the ones that will be getting the chocolate chips. Okay, so I just realized that when we were doing the calculations, we calculated flour as if it was half a cup of flour. But it's not half a cup of flour, it's actually 1.5 cups of flour. So we are going to do some quick math about what that means. So we have we have 1.5 cups. Well, before, when we had our half cup, it just became 1. So it was like, it was a half, and it was plus another half, which equaled 1. So now all we need to think is 1.5 plus 1.5. Now if we look at this one and this one are kind of the same. So we could take those out and we could make it easier on ourselves. So let's take this out. We'll move 1 and 1 because we know it's 1 plus 1 is 2. So we'll take those away. Then we're back to our initial half and half. What do we know that equals? 1. So we have a grand total of needing 3 cups of flour, which makes a whole lot more sense. Alright, so let's put that board down. So many fractions, decimals, interchanging everything, so much math in this. But this is my personal favorite kind of math. We're going to take your bowl. We have our sifter. Now this is actually from my my husband's grandparents, I believe. It was back a little while ago. So you might not have one like this. If you don't, you could just use a wire one. If you don't have one of those, don't worry about it. I have only started using sifting with baking a little while ago, so I don't really think that anything has made a taste difference anyway. I'm still sure it'll be delicious. So we need 3 cups of flour. We've got our 1 cup measure. And we're just going to pour it right into the sifter. 1. Now the last one was a little bit short, so this one I'll put a little bit more. 2. And I'll sit on that for a minute. And now with this sifter, you pull that lever and it sifts it all the way down. And what sifting's doing is let me show you. There's a little metal wire right there. And inside there's a little metal metal thing that goes around like this, and it basically pushes the flour or whatever's going through it slowly through this so that only a little bit falls at once. Now usually I don't use a sifter for doing banana bread anyways, because The directions are only to sift the flour, and I only usually use the sifter if I'm sifting all of the ingredients together, because then I find that it mixes it. That's our 3rd cup. It's like a good workout for a thumb wrestler. Alright, so we have our super fine flour. Next, we are going to need our baking soda. So baking soda, we knew that it needed 1 teaspoon, but doubled, it is, where's my teaspoons here? So 1 teaspoon plus another teaspoon equals 2 teaspoons. So 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Shake it off. 1. And 2. We are going to add the salt now. And this will be the last thing that we add before we do kind of the final creaming before we divide them. Salt, we are adding half a teaspoon of salt. But because we are doubling it, we are actually adding a full teaspoon of salt. And I'm using just normal table salt, so it's really nice and fine. That's usually what you bake with, is the table salt. Alright, so let's cream and mix this together, and then we will mix it with the other mixture, and then we'll be good to go. Look at how fluffy that is. Alright, now we are going to add our mixtures. Make sure you scrape out the sides. Any of the leftover banana that may have been in here is just going to get added into the mixture now. That's why it's not a big deal. If you got some left behind. Alright, so we're going to mix these together. I'm going to use my hand because I find that it works better. Just around like that. Certainly ooey and gooey. What are some of the things that you guys like to cook or bake? And if you have a really great recipe that you'd like to share and that you'd like us to try here, and so that you can share it with others, send it to us at Facebook at Limitless Learning with Mrs. Mount, and we will make sure to do that. I am all about learning about different foods, different cultures, like everything. So make sure, if you know a good recipe, let me know. And then we can let everybody know. So that is looking pretty well mixed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the recipe in half and In this bowl, we're going to do chocolate chips, and in that bowl, we're going to do the vanilla mixture. This smells so good. Alright, let's see. How even is that? Let's see. So this one is deeper, but more narrow in the hole that the mixture is sitting in. This one's wider, but it's not as deep. Like when I put my finger in it to see how deep it is, it only goes up to about the first knuckle. And if I put my finger in to see how deep this one is, it's like up to my second knuckle. So I think I'm pretty good on my halving skills. That is awesome. Okay, so now we are going to add the chocolate chips. And I never measure when I add things with chocolate. I kind of find that you just kind of add some and see if you need more, and most of the time for me, because I'm a chocolate lover, it needs more. Alright, so let's add some chocolate chips. And I just sprinkled them in because they were just the last that was in the pack. So, we'll find out. I don't know what the measurement was of that one. But, alright. And now we need to get the vanilla, which I forgot to get. There it is. Okay, and so for the vanilla one, we are going to be adding half a teaspoon, but half a teaspoon and half a teaspoon is actually the equivalent to, I'm going to challenge you. Half a teaspoon and half a teaspoon is the equivalent to if you said 1 teaspoon, you're right. And there we go. Okay. So now that we have all of our ingredients mixed, I'm going to mix this one in first, because then I can wipe it off from the chocolate chips, and then I'll mix that one, and then I will wash my hands, and then we can get these bad boys ready to go in the oven. Alright, look at that. Oh my goodness, the smell of banana and chocolate. This smells so good. It doesn't really need a whole lot of mixing. You want to make sure that when you're making banana bread, you mix it, but you don't want to over. Okay, and now we will mix this one with the vanilla. I'm really curious to see if this one is as sweet, more sweet, like adding the direct vanilla right into the banana bread mixture. Because I know with the chocolate chips, it's sweet where you got around the chocolate chip, but it doesn't really change the actual mixture. But this is actually going in, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. That looks pretty well mixed into me. So now I'm going to wash my hands, and we'll get these into some pans. Okay, and so we are back. We have our baking trays. We have our two mixtures, the one with the chocolate chips and the one with the vanilla. We've got our spatula, and we've got our noodle for when we are testing when it is done. And we've got our stick of butter. That's what I like to use to line my pans. You can use Pam, you can use margarine, you can use a ton of things, but I prefer using these sticks. I like the way that you can line the pan and you can more or less draw it. And it's really easy to make sure you're getting into all those corners and up the sides. And just move it around. Now I think we're gonna need 2 loaf trays per recipe. So here's another math for you. So if we need 2 loaf trays per recipe, but we doubled the recipe, how many loaf trays do we need? I'm going to let you figure that out while I continue to lather these up with butter and have the hiccups. I am so sorry for those who are listening and have to listen to that. Mix it in with our hands. Kind of seals it all in. Okay, so we need 2 loaf pans for 1 batch. If we need 2 batches, we need how many loaf pans? There we go. Okay. So we need 2 for 1, which means we need 1 more. I'm just going to take that right out of the package. And we'll grease it up. All right. Okay, you want to make sure that those are very, very, very well lathered up with either butter or Pam or oil or spray, whatever you are using. Make sure they are oiled up. Okay, so now that we've got things cleared away a little bit, we are going to pour our mixtures into our baking trays. Or baking pans, sorry. I'm trying to approximate what half would be in this bowl. I'm just going to switch hands so it's a little bit easier. Alright. Alright, we'll Make sure we get all the mixture out. That looks pretty even. Alright, so first one done. Just shake it around a little bit just to make it all evened out along the edges. This is a super fun one. If you are a kid or have kids, this is a fun job for kids to do. Alright, let's go on and do the same for the vanilla one. Alright. And there we go. Alright, so again, there's that shake and level out. It's really nice because it gets your body moving, but your mind's focusing on trying to get everything over to those corners and everything flat. Alright, well, that looks like everything. So now we are going to put them into the oven and we are going to cook them for approximately 50 minutes, but we are going to check on them later. Okay, so let's take a look. It's been approximately 35 minutes. Look at that golden brown. I wish you were all here to smell this aroma of cooked banana. Alright, let's see what it looks like when we take them out of the oven. Well, my friends, there we have it. There is our double batch of banana bread. I cooked it for a little bit smaller of a temperature, or shorter of a temperature, because I think my pans were a little bit small, because they're not very tall and they're a little bit on the darker end of things, but regardless, they look and smell amazing. I'm going to chop some of them up for some bites for when I go for walks. I'm gonna cut some up for slices. I'm gonna freeze some. So yeah, this is a really, really great activity to do for math. And you can expand this by thinking about how many other times you could have times the recipe. You could times it by 100, times it by 10, times it by 3005. Who really knows? Alright, stay limitless, learners.